Straightforward conversations, just the facts. This is the Newsmaker. Families of drug war victims downplay claims that former President Rodrigo Duterte is unfit for trial. Duterte's camp, however, says his health is deteriorating under detention. Will the International Criminal Court grant a temporary release or decide otherwise amid persistent calls for accountability? On the Newsmaker, ICC Assistant to Counsel, Cristina Conti. Okay, Attorney Conti, let's start with the disclosure of the Office of the Prosecutor on the charges against former President Rodrigo Duterte. What's the significance of this moving forward?
Well, this formalizes the charges, or this is actually what we would call the proposed charges against Duterte. And this is something that the defense already had access to in July. So these proposed charges are supposed to inform him as to how we can build up his defense. So it's important more for the defense than for the victims because we know already what happened. But on that note, of course, the victims have a different say or have a different take as to what the charges should be. So primarily, first as to the scope of what the crime should be, for us, it should have been a whole range of violations. Killings, imprisonment, persecution, and other inhumane acts. So hindi lang dapat murder ang acts of crimes against humanity, but also all other crimes that he committed. Kumbaga, the document does not fully reflect the extent of the crimes that he committed. But nonetheless, we can proceed on it on the premise na, sige, pwede na. Ito yung nakayanan or ito yung, kumbaga, sarado on the part of the Office of the Prosecutor. For them, they think these are the charges that will stick. This is a proposal and therefore could still be amended, edited, changed according to the circumstances. And there's the option or there's this confirmation of charges hearing where we are all supposed to argue over it. Okay. Kaya yun yung pinakahihintay until, only after that, mako-confirm kung ano ba talagang charges.
Okay. But you know, there are some supporters of the former president who said that this is a weak case and non-existent daw yung kaso ni former President Duterte. And they're also counting yung sinight na mga cases, which is para sa kanila, paano ma-consider na crime against humanity?
So I would guess a faction of Duterte supporters would be mass murder deniers. And they would rather choose to deny that there were crimes at all. Asan yung krimen? Rather than focus on hindi ginawa ni Duterte or I was not liable. And this is a valid form of defense in the sense that that's their option. Unfortunately for us, it feels so it feels so heartless. You know that there were killings and it's so factual that it is almost laughable. This kind of defense is laughable because of the information available. And for us, it is technicality that they are using to avoid the very essence of the case. Hindi na natin pinag-usapan dito kung may namatay ba o hindi. Ang pinag-uusapan ay kung guilty ba si Duterte ng crimes against humanity. If they wish to redefine crimes against humanity as in terms of numbers, kung minsan naglalagay sila ng minimum mahirap pa pag nagpunta tayo sa pitfall ng 10 lang pala, 12 lang, 78 lang yung namatay o tinamaan. Then therefore, what is the minimum figure? In the ICC, the minimum figure is 1. And that's important that we look at the documents of the court. I would invite counsels, lawyers most especially, to look at there's a document called Elements of the Crime. And in Elements of the Crime, all you have to prove is that the crimes, if crimes against humanity, the attacks were committed widespread or systematic, and at least one person was killed. The number would probably go into widespread. It's an indication na malawakan siya kung syempre mas marami. Pero wala din namang minimum number. Kaya hindi po natin pwedeng lagyan ng denumero, kumbaga, yung punto ng widespread. If the prosecution can prove that the killings were widespread with the number of 49 incidents, then he could be convicted. And that's worse, I think, on the part of Duterte. If you're convicted on the killing of just a few people and it's considered to be crimes against humanity, that means talagang matibay yung ebidensya.
Attorney Conti, ano pong naramdaman ng mga pamilya ng biktima ng drug war nung narinig nila yung or nalaman nila yung desisyon about the postponement of the confirmation of hearing?
Dismayada yung mga biktima dahil ito na parang abot kamay na sana. Yung schedule lang naman yung importante. Kumbaga, kasiguraduhan na matutuloy ito. Ang pag-postpone nito ay malaking issue para sa kanila dahil marami nang heartbreak sa kasong ito, marami nang pinagdadaanan sila. Ito na lang sana yung pinangahawakan na mga measure of justice. At nandun pa siya sa period na ang laking pinag-uusapan tungkol sa mga baha sa Pilipinas. Kaya parang kung sa baha-baha, walang nananagot, bakit dito sa ganitong klaseng kaso wala ring mananagot? Kaya nahihirapan sila na, imagine na, ito yung mga tao na kapag kakausapin mo, nanlilimas pa nung baha sa bahay nila. Kaya they're doubly victimized by the system.
May idea po ba kayo kung gaano katagal? Because they're saying it's limited postponement. Ang gusto ng Duterte camp ay indefinite postponement. But when we say limited, anong meaning po nun?
So one, we are of course against indefinite postponement without clear reasons. And as of now, the reason is that he's not fit for trial. We're not very convinced. Alam namin hindi naman ayon sa mga biktima yung issue ng fitness for trial. Pero syempre, nakikita namin at naririnig kung anong sinasabi ng kapamilyang bumibisita. At kung sasabihin nila ay okay naman, he is well, there's nothing to be worried about health-wise, parang naglolokohan kung ang sasabihin naman ng abogado sa korte, may cognitive impairment on multiple domains. Hirap din sila na intindihin na bakit ganon pwede siyang mamili ng panahon na kumbaga may problema siya or may issue sa pangangatawan niya. Nung kasagsagan ng patayan, napakalakas niya. Bakit ngayon na usapin na ng pananagutan, hindi na siya pwede. Napakasakit nun, lalo na dun sa mga kapamilya na nakikita nga na bumibisita yung anak niya, kapamilya niya, at halos araw-araw, linggo-linggo, meron siyang bisita. Lagi nilang sinasabi, buti pa nga siya merong nabibisita. Yung sa amin, patay na. O kaya, ang tagal na nakakulong sa Philippine prison na wala namang, kumbaga, suporta na katulad ng meron yung si Duterte. Kaya, kung inggit at inggit man, pinaka-naiinggit sila na nabigyan si Duterte ng due process. Well, politics is certainly in the picture, and I will leave the Marcoses versus Dutertes to their bray. Bahala sila, mag-away sila. But one thing I am confident of is that the ICC is an independent institution. We've talked to individuals and the concerned parties inside the court. So we've spoken to their outreach officers, and they've told us that in determining the fitness to stand trial of a person, the court will only refer to one, independent experts, so reports that are credible and reliable and will never be influenced by political, kumbaga, machinations. And in fact, sabi nila, once it's taken to the chambers, so it's brought before the judges, wala na. It's really just up to the judges. Wala ka nang ibang kausap dyan, wala nang ibang politika, wala nang ibang makaka-impluensya niya. The court, to be fair, has proven itself so far independent of political developments.
Attorney Cristina Conti, thank you so much for granting this interview. We will continue to deliver just the facts and the news you need until our next newsmaker from the International Criminal Court here in The Hague, Netherlands. I'm Tristan Udalo.